Hello and welcome to Jen's Ink Spot. Today we are celebrating 1,000 subscribers on Artist's YouTube channel, and I'm glad you joined us. I'm going to show you how I've made these two cards and give you a little tip along the way. I started by taking some stamping mask paper and a standard die circle, and I'm going to create a mask with the die cut circle on my card front. I peel off the backing and I stick it on my paper. Before I do that, I want to show you this cool tool I have. It is called a carbon fiber composite digital caliper, and what this does is something I found in my husband's stash, and I asked for one for my birthday, and it tells you the difference between two sides. So it helps me to make sure that things are centered evenly. So you turn it on and it starts at 0. You can change it to millimeters or inches. You can zero it out with the other button, and then once you measure, you can tell what the distance is on each side, and if you need to adjust where you have your image or your sentiment or whatever it is that you're stamping or placing, so that you know that it's perfectly center in the middle of your project. This little tool, although it's not created for stamping, has helped me so much, and I've used it often. It's just such a quick way to be able to find your distance. Once I figured out where the center was, I kind of left that tool on my paper for reference, and then before I completely sticked it down, I measured once again to make sure that my circle was exactly the same place it was before I peeled the backing off, so that it's perfectly lined up and right in the center. These things run about $15 at hardware stores. I think mine came from Menards. You can get them at Harbor Freight Tool, Lowe's, Home Depot, places like that that sell these, and you'll love them. You'll not regret your purchase. Today I'm going to use a bunch of Catherine Pooler inks. If you haven't used these inks before, you need to try them. They are awesome. They are my favorite inks ever. When I first learned about these inks, I thought I didn't need any more inks. I had enough. But then I stamped with these and I was addicted and hooked right away. I knew that I needed to get the collection. The first color that I stamped with is a new color from Catherine Pooler called Limoncello, and it is a nice bright yellow. Now I'm using Orange Twist, which layers so nicely on top of the nice bright lemon yellow color. And it is a nice bright orange. They just layer beautifully together. The stamp set that I'm using is called Wonderful Wildflowers stamp set from Catherine Pooler. It released just recently in May and is a nice layering flower stamp set. It also has outlines, which are beautiful. Lots of different options with this stamp set. Now I'm using Flirty Fuchsia, and I love this color so much. Probably one of my very favorite top colors. If you like bright, vivid colors, this one is perfect for you. I'm stamping a little harder than I usually would, just to make sure that I get a nice impression around my circle mask. The next color I'm using is another new color. It is called Grape Crush. It is a nice purple, very pretty color purple, and it layers so well on top of the Flirty Fuchsia color. So I'm stamping that. With this stamp set, there are a few different ways that you can orient the layers on top of the flowers, and so that's kind of nice too, that you have a little bit of option. I'm now going to stamp the center of my flowers, and for the purple flower I'm using the Limoncello ink color again for the center, and then I'm going to use Party Dress inks for the center of the yellow and orange flower. It's a nice hot pink color, and then I'm going to go in with black ink and stamp the centers of each of the flowers. That just kind of finishes the flower off, and there's not really any perfect way to stamp the center. I'm starting now on the other side of the flower with Bellini ink. This is a nice pretty orange ink that I really like as well. And I'm making sure again where I place my flowers so that it's going to go well around the circle image. I want to make sure that it's not up too high and I don't have very much of that flower on there. this time I oriented my layer in Party Dress ink, and I've layered it a little bit differently than I did on the other flowers, but I wanted to see more of the pink. So I just oriented my stamp just slightly different so that it would stamp more on the outside of the card instead of inside the flower. Now I'm going to stamp some of the smaller flowers in the set. This first one I'm stamping in All That Jazz, which is another one of my absolute favorite colors of Catherine Pooler inks. It is such a gorgeous turquoise-ish blue. I love it. And I'm going to layer it with something borrowed, which is a bright blue that is also beautiful. I found that the more that you play with the layers, the more combinations that you'll find, and sometimes they're very unexpected because of the way they change colors when you stamp on top of another color. They layer so perfectly. So I'm going to stamp the centers of the orange flower and the blue flower now, and then when I'm done with that, I'll go in and add the little black dots again on my Bellini flower. That just gives it a little extra pop, which I always love. I love all the little dots that are included in so many of the sets. Now I'm going to stamp the leaves for each of the flowers, and I'm stamping these in Lime Ricky ink, which is kind of my go-to ink for a lot of floral designs, especially for the ones that are brighter, because it is such a nice vivid green ink. I'm stamping 2 on the first side, and then on this side I'm going to stamp 3 to give it an odd number of leaves, which is a little more pleasing to the eye. And I'm just kind of eyeballing where I think they should go, where they will fit the best. Sometimes it takes a little moving around to figure out exactly where to stamp them. Now that I have all 5 of my leaf stamps, I'm going to go in with the shadow stamp for the leaf, which adds a little bit of detail. And I'm stamping this with Grass Skirt ink, which is a much darker grass ink, green ink. It looks a lot like the color of grass. And the thing I like about this stamp is you can use it to stamp on either side of the leaves. Gives it a slightly different look, but yet it allows you to change up your stamp a little bit and add a little bit different dimension and texture and look to each of the leaves. Now I'm going to use another new Catherine Pooler stamp set called Focus on the Good Floral stamp set. It has another set of beautiful floral images, but what I'm going to use are the 3 dots, and I'm going to stamp them in places on my card in black ink that I feel need a little bit of something added to them, like they're a little bit too empty and I want to kind of fill up the card. And I find that using the little filler stamps in some of the stamp sets is an easy way to do that, and so I've done that here. Now I'm going to remove the mask in the center, and you can see how I have this nice circle frame, and what I plan to do with this frame is stamp the sentiment inside. And the same stamp set that I just used, Focus on the Good Floral stamp set, has the same sentiment inside of it, and it fits perfectly inside this circle. That wasn't an accident. I did measure it before. So here's what the first part of my card looks like, but I feel like it needs something on the bottom to kind of finish it off, ground it a little bit. So I'm going to take a strip that I stamped using the BFF background stamp set that's also new from Catherine Pooler. Off camera, I did add a second strip to my card because I thought it needed another line there to just kind of finish the card off. I created a second card, very similar format, with a wider strip of the BFF background, and the sentiment is from the Good Things stamp set, also from Catherine Pooler. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the card that we created, and I hope that you will hop along with the other ladies that are a part of this blog hop. And congratulations to Ardith on 1,000 YouTube subscribers. Be sure to leave a comment on all of the participating blogs for your chance to win prizes from our generous sponsors. You will find my supply list and the next blog to hop to in the description below. Thank you again for joining me today on Jen's Ink Spot. I hope you have a great day.